In a flash of unfathomable power, the once mighty Zarantine war fleet vanished from the stars. Supreme Commander Xenos gaped in disbelief at the inconceivable destruction wrought by a single human warship. Captain Adam Robinson stood on the bridge of the human vessel, his face etched with grim determination as he gave the order to rescue the few shock survivors. The Zarantine prisoners, confined within their former enemy's ship, struggled to comprehend the enormity of their defeat. Xenos and his remaining leaders faced interrogation at the hands of their human captors, the true depth of their predicament sinking in. They were now utterly at the mercy of an adversary they had foolishly underestimated. Across the galaxy, shockwaves of the Zarantine fleet's annihilation reverberated through a fragile network of alliances and animosities. Some celebrated the fall of a long-resented tyrant. Others eyed humanity's ascendance with a mix of hope and dread. Whispers spread of the mind-bending technologies witnessed in the battle. Shields ignored, stealth pierced, speed surpassed, even tales of humans with near-supernatural abilities. In the battle's wake, an anxious galaxy awaited humanity's next move. The Zarantine prisoners, reluctant ambassadors, were taken to Earth for the tense negotiations ahead. The future itself now lay in the hands of the enigmatic newcomers, their young captain, and the desperate cooperation of his alien captives. A new era dawned, old certainties shattered, as humanity grasped for the mantle of savior or conqueror. The Zarantine prisoners, remnants of a once mighty empire, stepped off the human transport ship onto the unfamiliar soil of Earth. Supreme Commander Xenos, his proud bearing diminished by the shackles on his wrists, squinted in the harsh sunlight as he was led across the tarmac. Human soldiers flanked the bedraggled group, escorting them towards a looming concrete structure in the distance. Inside the secure military facility, the prisoners were subjected to a barrage of medical exams and interrogations. Human doctors probed and sampled, seeking to unravel the secrets of Zarantine physiology, while intelligence officers grilled the captives for any scrap of information about their technology and society. Xenos found himself separated from his men and confined to a Spartan cell. He paced the small space like a caged animal, his mind churning with thoughts of revenge and escape. On the third day of his imprisonment, the door opened to reveal a human woman in a crisp military uniform. She introduced herself as Lieutenant Sarah Martinez, his assigned handler and interpreter. Sarah approached the seething Zarantine leader with a mix of caution and curiosity. Her years of training in xenolinguistics and diplomacy steeled her for the challenge ahead, to establish a rapport with this proud warrior and unlock the secrets of his people. Xenos, for his part, met her overtures with stony silence, his eyes burning with barely held-back rage. As the days stretched into weeks, Sarah persisted in her efforts to engage Xenos. She brought him Zarantine food, painstakingly recreated by human chefs, based on what little they knew of the aliens' cuisine. She shared hollows of Earth's natural wonders and vibrant cultures, hoping to pique his interest. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, Xenos began to thaw. He started to share snippets of Zarantine history and philosophy, painting a picture of a complex civilization with a rich warrior tradition. Sarah drank in every detail, her initial wariness giving way to genuine fascination. In turn, she told Xenos of humanity's own checkered past, of the wars and conflicts that had nearly torn her species apart before they found unity in the stars. As their conversations deepened, so too did the bond between captor and captive. Xenos came to respect Sarah's keen intellect and unwavering dedication to her duty, and Sarah found herself questioning the official narrative surrounding the Zarantine conflict, wondering if peace might still be possible. But even as this unlikely friendship blossomed in the shadows, storm clouds gathered on the horizon. Hawkish factions within the human leadership, led by the ruthless General Alexei Petrov, agitated for harsher treatment of the Zarantine prisoners. They saw the aliens as a resource to be exploited, not a potential ally to be cultivated. Tensions reached a boiling point when Petrov, acting on his own authority, dispatched a black ops team to seize the Zarantine prisoners in the dead of night. Sarah, alerted to the impending raid by a sympathetic colleague, raced to Xenos' cell and used her command override to open the door. "Come with me if you want to live," she said, extending a hand to the shocked Zarantine leader. Xenos hesitated for only a moment before grasping her offered hand and allowing himself to be pulled into the chaos of the night. Alarms blared and boots pounded on concrete as Sarah guided Xenos and the other prisoners through the labyrinthine corridors of the facility, narrowly evading the black-clad soldiers at every turn. Finally, they burst out into the open air, the cool breeze a welcome respite from the stifling confines of the prison. Sarah led them to a waiting transport, ushering the Zarantines aboard before climbing in herself and sealing the hatch. As the craft lifted off, disappearing into the night sky, Xenos turned to Sarah with a look of grudging respect. "Why did you help us?" he asked, his voice rough with emotion. Sarah met his gaze unflinchingly. "Because I believe there's more to this war than either of our peoples realize, and because I think together we might have a chance to stop it." The transport hurtled through the darkness, carrying its unlikely allies towards an uncertain future. Sarah and Xenos, human and Zarantine, captor and captive no more, sat side by side in the cramped hold, the weight of their new shared purpose heavy upon them. The path ahead would be fraught with danger and deception, but in that moment, they knew only one thing for certain. The truth, no matter how painful, must be brought to light. The fate of two civilizations hung in the balance. The transport's engines thrummed as it sliced through Earth's atmosphere, leaving behind the chaos of the military facility. Sarah's hands shook slightly as she piloted the craft, adrenaline still coursing through her veins. Beside her, Xenos watched the planet shrink beneath them, his alien features unreadable. "We can't stay in Earth space," Sarah said, her voice tight. "They'll track us down within hours." Xenos nodded grimly. "My people will be hunting us as well. We need somewhere neither of our governments will look." Sarah's eyes lit up. "I have an idea. There's an old human scout ship docked at a nearby orbital station. If we can reach it..." Hours later, alarms blared as Sarah and Xenos sprinted through the cramped corridors of the orbital station. Behind them, the shouts of security forces echoed off metal walls. They rounded a corner, and there it was, a sleek black vessel with HSS Nighthawk emblazoned on its hull. Sarah's fingers flew over the airlock controls. Come on," she muttered. With a hiss, the door slid open. They tumbled inside just as a volley of stunner fire sizzled past. The scout ship's systems came to life under Sarah's expert touch. Xenos strapped himself into the co-pilot's seat, marveling at the elegant human technology. With a roar of engines, they tore free of the docking clamps and accelerated away from the station. "Where to?" Sarah asked, her eyes fixed on the navigation display. Xenos hesitated, then input a series of coordinates. "Voxa Prime," he said softly, "the homeworld of the Voxari. If we're to uncover the truth behind this war, we must start there." As days stretched into weeks, the unlikely pair settled into a rhythm aboard the small vessel. Sarah taught Xenos the intricacies of human technology, while he shared the secrets of Zarantine battle tactics. In quiet moments, they swapped stories of their childhoods, finding unexpected common ground despite their vast differences. Finally, after a harrowing journey through uncharted space, they emerged from faster-than-light travel to behold Voxa Prime. Sarah gasped. Where she had expected a thriving alien world, she saw only a sickly brown orb, its atmosphere choked with pollution. "What happened here?" she whispered. Xenos' face was grim. The Voxari's lust for conquest came at a terrible price. They donned their disguises, Xenos as a low-ranking Voxari technician, Sarah as his alien slave, and made planetfall in a decrepit spaceport on the outskirts of the sprawling capital. The city that greeted them was a nightmare of towering brutalist structures and omnipresent surveillance drones. Voxari citizens hurried through the streets, their eyes downcast, while heavily armed police maintained a constant, menacing presence. Sarah and Xenos wove through the crowds, making their way to the imposing central data vault. Using Xenos' stolen credentials and Sarah's hacking prowess, they slipped inside. In a dimly lit server room, Sarah connected to the main computer, her fingers dancing across the holographic interface. "I'm in," she breathed. "But this encryption is like nothing I've ever seen. It could take hours to..." Suddenly, the door hissed open. A towering Voxari, flanked by black armored guards, strode in, his cybernetic eye glowing an ominous red. "Well, well," General Zirax sneered. "What have we here?" Sarah's hand inched towards her concealed weapon as Xenos tensed beside her. The truth they sought was tantalizingly close. But first, they would have to fight their way out of the heart of enemy territory. Sarah's hand closed around her weapon as General Zirax's cybernetic eye locked onto her. In a fluid motion, she rolled behind a server bank, narrowly avoiding a blast of energy that seared the air where she'd stood. Xenos lunged at the nearest guard, his Zarantine strength sending the armored Voxari flying. Alarms blared as Sarah fired her stunner, dropping another guard, but more poured through the door, forcing them back. "This way!" Xenos shouted, gesturing to a maintenance hatch. They squeezed through, emerging into a maze of utility tunnels. The sounds of pursuit echoed behind them as they ran, twisting and turning through the bowels of the data vault. They burst out into the polluted night air of Voxa Prime. Sarah gagged on the acrid taste. "We need transport," she wheezed. Xenos spotted a line of hover skiffs. They commandeered one, Sarah's hacking skills bringing its engines to life. As they roared away from the city, energy bolts streaked past. "Did you get what we came for?" Xenos asked, gripping the controls. Sarah nodded, patting the data chip in her pocket. Everything, the entire conspiracy laid bare. They sped through the wastelands, but their triumph was short-lived. A Voxari gunship appeared on the horizon, closing fast. Its weapons tore into the skiff, sending them crashing into a ravine. Dazed, Sarah dragged herself from the wreckage. Xenos limped to her side, his alien blood seeping from a gash on his arm. They took cover as the gunship circled overhead. "This is it," Sarah said grimly. "Our last stand." Xenos nodded, checking his weapon. "Then let us make it one worthy of song." The air filled with the whine of engines as Zirax's purge troopers descended on their position. Sarah and Xenos opened fire, their shots finding gaps in Voxari armor. But for each trooper that fell, 2 more took its place. Just as their situation seemed hopeless, the ground shook with explosions. A group of ragged Voxari rebels swarmed over a nearby ridge, firing heavy weapons. Their leader, a lithe female, slid down to Sarah and Xenos' position. "I'm Urala," she said, her voice filled with steel. "We intercepted your transmission. The people are rising up, but Zirax still holds power. We need that evidence." Sarah handed over the data chip. Urala's eyes widened as she interfaced with it, the full scope of the regime's lies laid bare. "With this, we can bring it all crashing down," Urala breathed. The battle raged on, Sarah and Xenos fighting alongside their unlikely Voxari allies. But even as they held their ground, reports came in of chaos spreading across the planet. The regime was crumbling. Suddenly, Urala's communicator crackled. Her face paled as she listened. "Zirax has gone mad. He's activating a doomsday weapon, a virus to wipe out all life on Voxa Prime." Sarah met Xenos' eyes. They both knew what had to be done. "We need to get to his command bunker," Sarah said. "Can you get us there?" Urala nodded grimly. "Follow me." As they raced towards Old Pavra City, the sky above them filled with ships. But these weren't Voxari craft. An alien armada of impossible size was entering the system. Sarah looked to Xenos, seeing her own shock mirrored in his alien features. Whatever victory they might win today, a far greater threat loomed on the horizon. The alien armada filled the sky, a vast metallic swarm blotting out the stars. Sarah's breath caught in her throat as she realized the true nature of this new threat. "Harbingers," Xenos whispered, his alien features contorted with dread. "The Devourer swarm. They were supposed to be a myth." Urala's communicator crackled with panicked reports from across Voxa Prime. The first Harbinger scout ships had already breached the atmosphere, probing the planet's defenses with cold, mechanical precision. Sarah watched in horror as a Voxari defense platform erupted in a ball of flame, swatted aside by a Harbinger dreadnought like it was nothing more than an insect. The behemoth's hull rippled, reforming from the damage in a display of impossible technology. Our weapons are useless? Irala hissed, her eyes wide with fear. How can we fight something like this? Xenos turned to Sarah, his alien eyes filled with a mix of desperation and perseverance. There might be a way. The fallen regime had a weapon of last resort, a mnemonic disruption bomb. It could shatter their molecular bonds at the quantum level. Sarah nodded grimly. Where is it? The central weapons vault, beneath Old Pavra City, Irala said, but it's heavily guarded. Zirax's loyalists won't give it up without a fight. They raced through the chaos-filled streets, dodging panicked civilians and pockets of resistance still battling Zirax's forces. The sky above them churned with Harbinger attack drones, their metallic screech filling the air as they overwhelmed the outer defense grid. At the weapons vault, Sarah's hacking skills proved invaluable once more. As the door slid open, revealing the sleek, otherworldly device within, a plan began to form in her mind. "I'll take it," she said, her voice steady despite the fear coursing through her. "A high-speed bomber run through the heart of their fleet. It's the only way to get close enough." Xenos grabbed her arm, his grip painfully tight. "No, the radiation levels. You'll never survive." Sarah met his gaze, a sad smile on her face. "My human physiology gives me the best chance. You know it's true." For a moment, the sounds of battle faded away. Sarah and Xenos stood there, two beings from different worlds united by an impossible friendship. Without a word, they embraced, both knowing it might be the last time. Irala watched the exchange, her face a mask of iron will. "Your sacrifice may be our only hope for a free future," she said softly. Sarah nodded, then turned to the waiting bomber. As she strapped herself in, she looked back at Xenos one last time. "Whatever happens," she said, her voice thick with emotion, "I'm glad I met you." The bomber streaked into the sky, weaving through a hail of defensive fire. Sarah's hands flew over the controls, her focus absolute as she pushed the craft to its limits. The Harbinger dreadnought loomed before her, a colossus of alien metal and unfathomable power. With a silent prayer, Sarah jettisoned the muon warhead, watching it streak towards the behemoth's core. Then everything went white. On the ground, Xenos shielded his eyes as a cosmic flare erupted across the sky. The Harbinger ships began to unravel, reduced to rapidly diffusing clouds of atoms. In a matter of moments, the invasion force that had threatened to consume all of Voxa Prime simply ceased to exist. As the light faded and an eerie calm settled over the battlefield, Xenos searched the sky for any sign of Sarah's bomber. But there was nothing. Only the lingering afterimage of that terrible, beautiful explosion remained. In the stunned silence that followed, Xenos slipped away from the celebrating crowds. He found a quiet spot overlooking the scarred landscape, his alien heart heavy with grief. As he gazed out at the irradiated killing fields left in the wake of humanity's awesome display of power, he couldn't help but wonder what the future would hold for his people and for the entire galaxy, now that they had witnessed the true depths of human persistence.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.